Yo, 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 what's good, everybody? This is Colin back with another episode, episode 7 of A New Direction, the podcast where I talk about literally all sorts of different things that involve my life and what goes on in my thoughts and everything. And so today we have a standard episode, a little different from the kind of variation I did last time, kind of back to the regular formula for today. But we're going to start with our music recommendation as usual. Jumping right into it, we've got New American Gospel by Lamb of God, which is a really, really good album. Lamb of God is a very well known band, I would say, within the metal scene. Um, produced some really solid albums, and I've talked about my love for As the Palaces Burn, which is a great album. But New American Gospel has some really good tracks on it, some very catchy riffs, and just straight up heavy parts that are just crushing. It's really great and a great album, and just kind of the story behind it is kind of funny. Just how they were all so drunk when they were kind of writing this album. Um, I think it really adds to the charm of it in a way because it's just so raw and visceral and great. But my favorite track would definitely be the Subtle Arts of Murder and Persuasion, which is a kind of a more mysterious sounding track from the album, but very good, very heavy. And I just highly recommend the whole album in general. I would definitely give it a solid 7 out of 10 if I were to give it like a rating or something like that. So, very good metal album. I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to listen to something heavy that's really good. But anyway, diving right in, we're gonna be talking a good bit about school today, which I guess is something that some people might not want to hear about, but hopefully I can make it at least a little bit entertaining. Starting off. We're gonna be talking about my new school term, which has started in college here. So just a little background. I'm currently attending community college, and I'm now in my second term of my first semester. So freshly out of high school at this point, but going to college, and I honestly like it. Community college is definitely a different experience than one would get at like a university, a traditional like 4 year university for a bachelor's program. Community college is definitely a very different feel, or at least the one that I attend, that's in my town, and it's very much reminiscent of high school, I would say, in just the way kind of in a way like the feel of going, I guess. Like even the hallways even remind me of the hallways in my high school a little bit. Like I don't know, it's just a throwback for me in a way, like just through time, because I don't know. I have a lot of memories from high school, and so it's very kind of reminiscent of that. But my new term here, I'm taking 3 classes, but they're split apart. So today I only had to go to 2 of them, and I went to 2 different buildings. I had to go into a new building this time, one that I didn't have to go into last term. So that was pretty cool. Um, I definitely enjoyed the new building a lot more. It's definitely newer, and the design of it is pretty cool. Although it's kind of weird, the inside, the walls are painted all sorts of wacky, like neon colors. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with neon colors, but like, it's just kind of odd because it's so minimalist looking otherwise, and then you just have these crazy bursts of neon color halfway down the wall. It doesn't even go all the way to the floor. It's kind of weird. But the classroom that I have in this particular class is like a nice like windowed classroom. So like it has a whole one of the walls is just like a big window pretty much, and it's pretty cool to be able to look out and see the world in class. It's pretty cool. Very comfortable. The chairs at this school are just incredibly comfortable compared to anything I ever had in high school. Like in high school, like we had the desks that were like I don't even know what they were made of. Like they weren't wooden, but they had like the metal bar and like the metal circular like tube thing that ran the length of them and the basket underneath, and they were all kind of had like a big marble sort of top on it. I don't know. But those were the desks we had in high school, and then now I'm having like a whole table to myself, pretty much, with a nice, comfortable rolly chair that's padded with armrests. Like, it's crazy. It is a crazy deviation from anything I'm used to from high school, and so I definitely appreciate the comfort of going to college. At least in this particular class, my other class is in a building that I had already been in previously, and so the chairs in this classroom are definitely not as comfortable as the other one. They're definitely not like padded or anything, but they're still comfortable. They have armrests and you kind of sink into them, and they have the height adjustment. And it's pretty cool. Like, to be a noticeably older building and classroom, it's very comfortable still. And I don't know, I feel like it's going to be a pleasant experience so far. Just based off of first impressions, I think it'll be a good, pleasant start. But as far as college, like, I'm attending college as a college student, but as far as the how necessary college is, like, to people who are maybe in high school and are a little undecided about going to college, I will definitely have some advice to give y'all. Through high school, or just through school in general, really, like, I had always intended to go to a university. And in fact, right up until the very end of my, senior year, pretty much, I was actually going to be attending a university, a 4 year university. But right at the last minute, I backed out and made the choice to go to community college, because at the end of the day, when it was all said and done and it came down to it, you know, I was very unsure about committing to something like a 4 year university, where, you have a very strict class schedule, and it's hard to, balance your life and your schooling in that sense. Like, school kind of becomes your life when you're doing that. And it wasn't something I was really prepared to do. And being so young, I mean, it's kind of unfair in a way that, children really, people who are 17 and 18 years old are having to make decisions that are going to affect the rest of their life. Like, the choice that I made to go to community college over a university with a scholarship, and I got scholarships to both. But I had a very good scholarship to go to this university that I turned down to go to community college, which, was a very ballsy move. Took a lot of courage, I think, on my end, because I felt very guilty for doing that. Because I don't know, I just wanted to make my parents proud, and I know I do. But I know that I kind of, in a way, I don't know, I feel like I disappointed them in a way, because I went to community college. But I know it's the best thing for me in my life and my current circumstances as a human being. Going to community college is the right choice for me, because it enables me to have a more flexible life and attend, college, and get a degree that I can start with and, begin a career with. And then, when it comes to the end of my, my time in community college, I can then decide whether or not I want to, continue on at a 4 year university, or if I just want to jump into the workforce and kind of start working my way up and then go back later on in the future. And it's nice to know that I will have a degree as kind of like a cushion, I guess, even though a lot of people will argue and say that an associate's degree is not really useful. But I would say having any degree is better than having no degree. Um, and I guess there again, that can be a debatable point on how important a degree is. But just as far as, what I'm going to school for, which is a more generally applicable program in business, pretty much. Um, I think having a degree will be a good move on my part, securing me a job in the future and, enabling my financial sort of success. But, it's hard to say. But for people who are, afraid of, the commitment of going to college and going to a 4 year university, community college is always an option. And even still, it is okay if you don't go to college right off the bat. I have friends that I know who aren't doing that, who are taking gap years because, at the end of the day, you're kind of burnt out, like at the end of school. And I mean, I had a pretty long break from school, given the COVID situation and everything going on with that. So, I had a pretty substantial break from school, but even still, I felt very burned out going into my, freshman year of college here. And, it's been a relief to see that community college is much easier. I don't want to say easier, it requires effort, it requires work, but it is easier on me physically to perform and to do, in, because it's so flexible, it's so accessible, it's easy to work with. And that's what I appreciate about it, and that's what makes me confident that I'm able to finish a program here, even though it's going to take a lot of determination and work on my part. I'm definitely able to do it. But as far as that, the first three topics of this are all kind of wound up together, because on my timeline here, I have new school. I talk about my new term in college in general, which I've talked about, and then my time in school and how it has shaped me. So they're all kind of brought, all together here. So I'm not going to really make explicit transitions. So I'm just kind of going to go through these. But as far as how my time in school has shaped me, I think that it definitely taught me a lot about, obviously, the basics that are required for education. I learned how to read, I learned how to write and do math, and learn a lot of things that are very important for your success in school, further on, like further higher education. The skills that I've learned in, middle school and high school have all been very good for that. In elementary school, you know, I think that I was very well prepared for the world. My college classes are all basically, and I mean, I know I'm in intro level classes right now, but, so far it's all been very much kind of review of content that I learned in like 10th grade. Like my math class that I had last term was literally like like was algebra 2 that I took in 10th grade. Like it was very simple math, stuff that anybody can do who has any sort of algebra 2 experience in high school. You will be able to pass the math class that I took. So, stuff like that is kind of reassuring, I guess, to know that I'm prepared in that sense. School also prepared me socially. I mean, I know I've talked about how I'm hard to open up to people, but it definitely, going to school has taught me how to talk to people. How to communicate with others, and you know create, give good first impressions, I guess. I'm able to talk to people. Going to school has helped me with that. And so I'm appreciative of that for sure. But beyond that, like a lot of the stuff that I've learned in high school, I can't really see as being very useful. Like I took up to pre-calculus in high school, like pre-calculus honors. I could have taken AP calculus if I wanted to, but I didn't like math. I was not very strong in it in high school because I never really had any great math teachers. There were a few standout teachers there, but I never had very many fantastic, good math teachers that really helped understand, helped you to understand the content. And my pre-cal teacher especially was awful. We're not going to name names or anything, but for the people that had her class with me, they know the pain, they know the suffering that was this lady's class. And she was not very good at teaching pre-cal. And so it definitely hurt my appreciation and my will to do math. It kind of killed any interest in math that I had. But, going into having, taking this required, have to have it math class in college has definitely been kind of refreshing because I enjoy the math that I did in that class and how it will build on itself later on. I'm appreciative of that. But, I learned a lot of stuff in high school that, I feel like I'm not going to use. Like that pre-cal that I was talking about, that was all sort of to build up to the fact that I don't need that. Like, I really don't feel like that pre-cal was necessary. Because even in my major, like the classes that I'm taking, I don't think there's going to be any sort of pre-cal involved, any calculus of any kind, because it's just not essential in my field. So it's kind of like I feel like I wasted my time taking that class because it's now knowledge that, for one, I didn't even fully master, and it's now taking up space in my brain, and it's just useless. Like, I'm never going to use that. I'm never going to practice it. I'm never going to train it. I'm never going to need that knowledge, and I had to do it and suffer through it because it was bad. That class sucked. And so, I don't know. I feel that school, especially, the main, K through 12 has its benefits, helping make friends, helping you, learn and develop as a social human being and as a human being in general, just making impacts on your lives and other people's lives and just, connecting with others and, learning strong foundations for your life. Like, you definitely do that in school, but there is also definitely a lot of useless fluff knowledge that you really never are going to use that you're going to need, and they don't teach you important things in especially in high school. Like, I don't know anything about mortgages or house payments, paying property taxes, and insurance and insurance rates and APRs. Like, we never learned about any of this stuff in high school, at least in my case. And I was a very highly you know, I guess highly ordained student. I don't want to say ordained like a priest, but I had a lot of awards when I graduated. I was near the top of my class. And it's not that I never took classes for this stuff. Like, it was just legitimately never taught. We never learned about this stuff. And so I don't know. There's a lot of useless information that is unnecessary, and a lot of important information that is never taught. And so I think that is kind of my opinion on school. But kind of transitioning that into being like how that's shaped me as an adult now, because technically I am an adult, which is still crazy to me. I mean, I'm approaching 19. It's coming, and it's just like, oh my God, it's my last year as a teenager coming up. And, I don't know, it's kind of scary to think about how quickly the time flies by and just how things happen so quickly and how life moves so fast the older you get. And it's very true for the people that are listening to this podcast who are younger than me, who are 13, 14. If anybody's listening in those younger age ranges, like, life goes crazy fast. Like, the older you get, like, I'm 18 and this year has just flown by. And there are a lot of circumstantial things going on that will kind of make it seem that way, but it's just in general, as I've gotten older, the time just flies by. Like, 2016 is almost, like, literally almost 6 years ago now. Like, that's crazy for me to think about, because I can remember distinctly watching Leafy is Here in 2016 and just, like, being in middle school, and it's just crazy to think how long ago that was. But I don't know, being an adult is definitely a very different feeling than I was expecting. It's hard to describe. Like, I feel free in a sense because, I'm out of the public school system, but now I'm in the real world, and the real world's kind of scary. Like, it's been an adjustment for sure, having to adapt to, working and going to school and having to balance all these things in my life, and, you know, just live as an adult in the real world, and think about how I'm going to move out in the future, and car payments and insurance and all this stuff, because I'm an adult. Like, I kind of, and I mean, I know I'm not trying to, like, grow up too quickly or think about things too quickly, but I just think it's very important to think about these things and consider these things. I'm thinking about, like, how I'm investing my money and how I'm trying to build my wealth over time, and it's just, there's a lot of things to think about, and it's kind of scary to process it all. And just being an adult is a very different feeling than I expected it to be. But at the end of the day, like, life goes on, you learn and you continue and adapt, and that's kind of where we're at right now as far as being an adult. It's definitely a interesting feeling. And to those of you who are in high school and are approaching this time, like, it's very almost jarring. Like, I distinctly remember right now my graduation ceremony and how surreal it felt when I walked across the stage in all my garb and everything. Like, I just distinctly remember feeling like it was like a dream almost, that I was finally done. Like, I had finally reached the end of the public school system, and it kind of scared me a little bit. Like, I didn't know, what to expect after that. Like, it was a very euphoric rush of, kind of happiness, but also some like anxiety too. Kind of like, what is the future going to hold for me? And, what I've learned in the time since then is that life kind of goes on. Things happen for better or for worse. And, you know, you adapt, you learn, you grow, you change, you become a better person through it all. And I think that is what's truly important in life is, learning where you can improve and doing things to better yourself at the end of the day so you can become a better human being. Because, there are a lot of assholes in the world. And, I deal with the general public. Um, I work at a fast food place where takeout and DoorDash and all that stuff is just the most common form of business. And so, I know there's a lot of assholes out there. I deal with them every single day. And, I guess like my thing is to, I don't know, like I talk about it a lot, is spreading positivity and just, being good people. Because, for every asshole, that kind of gets to me when I'm at work, the good person, the nice person who will have a conversation with me and is just really friendly, that makes my day in a way to talk to people like that. And so, I try my best to be that way and, be well mannered and just kind and genuine to everybody. And I encourage everybody to do the same because I think being nice and spreading positivity is a very important part of life because, we live in very scary times, very uncertain times. There's a lot of talk of the rapture and, like war and just a lot of uncertainty about everything right now. And I think being positive and, keeping our heads up and living our lives to our fullest extent while we still can is very important. And so that's why I encourage everybody to be positive and to, spread positivity in their daily lives. Like, I think that's a very important thing to do. But anyway, last but not least here, we have my final topic for this video, which are mechanical keyboards, which is a huge hobby of mine. People may not know that, but I love mechanical keyboards ever since I got to experience my first mechanical keyboard, which was my brother, Connor, yet again, the man, way back in the day, had a Black Widow, like a Razer Black Widow keyboard, and he let me type on it, and oh my gosh, I still remember how crisp and tactile and clicky that keyboard was. It was immaculate, and I fell in love right then and there. It was a love at first sight type deal right there, when with that mechanical keyboard. And so ever since then, I've definitely been a mechanical keyboard sort of enthusiast, and I've kind of been in and out of the game for a little while with it. But recently, once I put my new computer together that I talked about way back in the first episode, um, I got a new mechanical keyboard here. So first, we'll start off with what I have now, and then we'll kind of work our way backwards and talk about the history of the other mechanical keyboards that I've owned. But I'm sorry, by the way, if there's any noise in the background. The garbage truck keeps going back and forth past my house, so it might be making some noise in the background. If not, I probably sound kind of crazy right now, but I promise you it's there. But anyway, I currently have a AnPro 2 60% mechanical keyboard in the white color. It's the RGB lighting and everything, and it's all white, and it looks really, really good. And for, I think I talked a little bit about how with my PC, I was going for a white and black aesthetic, and I wanted everything to kind of match up. So right now I've got the white tower with the black internals, the black mouse pad and black mouse, and then the white keyboard right now. And it's a very clean look that I'm very happy with. And this keyboard has the Kale box red switches in it, which are very linear and smooth and buttery. It's an incredibly smooth typing experience. And I highly recommend these switches to anybody who is a fan of linear switches. And I especially recommend this keyboard to anybody who wants a more budget-oriented 60% board. I purchased mine for $99 from Amazon. It came to me in like one day, literally. I think it was like literally 24-hour delivery. It was crazy. And it survived sitting out in the rain. It actually delivered while I was at work, and it was raining that night, and it came. And the Amazon box was soaked, but everything inside was completely fine, including the keyboard. So hands up, or thumbs up, I guess, rather, to Amazon for secure packaging my electronic stuff. But this keyboard is fantastic. I highly recommend it to anybody who is interested in a 60% board, like I said. But previously, I had an 85%, like 10 keyless keyboard. It was a Logitech G Pro, I believe is what it was called. It had like the Omron, or I think they're Omron Logitech switches. They were like the tactile ones that weren't very clicky. Um, I was definitely not a fan of those. I didn't like them very much even from the day I got them, but I kind of put up with them for a long time. I kept that keyboard for a few years. But I finally, like when I built my new computer, I got the AmPro, uh, which I am far, like much happier with. But the G Pro is not a bad keyboard, although it did have a few issues with the LED lights kind of going bad. They wouldn't display certain colors and everything. It was kind of weird. But before that, I had a Corsair K70 Rapid Fire RGB keyboard with the Corsair speed switches, which are like the cherry silver ones, I think. And they were all right. It was a okay keyboard. It bottomed out rather quickly, which I didn't like, and was a little too light for my taste. But it was a very nice keyboard. Had like the media wheel and scroll, like the scroll wheel and everything. It was pretty cool. And then it was all RGB, and it had a wrist rest, which was pretty cool too. Um, but before that, I think, which kind of was the first keyboard I really had, was before this. I had a Razer Black Widow Chroma V2, and I loved that keyboard to death. That keyboard was the shit. I kept it for so long, and it had the clicky green switches, and I loved it. And it was a fantastic keyboard, and in a way I kind of miss it, but I don't really like what Razer's doing with the keyboards anymore. I prefer more the, I don't want to say boutique stuff, but brands that are not necessarily targeted for gamers, like the AmPro here, Ducky keyboards. I'm kind of fond of those. So as far as where I'm going to go next with it, I'm honestly not sure. I kind of want a hot swap build with the box Jades, which are clicky, or maybe the box Navies. I'm not quite sure yet. But they're really, really, really clicky, and it would be like the complete opposite of the board I have now. So I think it would be kind of fitting to have both. I don't know. Maybe I just want to spend money, but they're very cool, and I am definitely a fan. And I'll actually give a little sound test of this keyboard here. So that was the sound of the KO Box Reds. Definitely a huge fan of that sound. But yeah, that kind of covers it. I kind of like what I was talking about. I wanted the Box Jades next, but we'll see kind of where that goes, and I'll definitely make an update if I get a new one. But that kind of sums it up for this video. So with a somber goodbye, I must wish you all farewell. I hope that this video finds you all in good health and in a good state of mind, and I hope that you all have a great rest of your days, evenings, nights, whenever you may be watching this. And stay positive, stay chill, and I will see y'all next time.